Ladies and gentlemen, it is by far one of my favorite times of the year as the Dallas Cowboys just made another huge trade, and in my opinion, I think this trade is a little bit more significant than the one they made a week ago. So we're going to break down everything for you guys, in addition to some moves that the Texans made and what this means for the rest of the NFL. So before we get to the content, we're giving away $300 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel each and every Friday. So if you haven't done so yet, I highly recommend it. At the same time, we're doing a giveaway on my Twitter account for all the lovely humans that retweet this tweet of Aaron Rodgers in a New York Jets uniform. Now that we got all that out of the way, work! So here's an update as to how we're doing financially so far. I've made $5,407 so far, but it seems like my followers have been having significantly more success than I have. For example, my man Jess2K was able to make $800 by putting up $80. My man Anthony was able to make $1,250 off of putting up $50. And we're about to ramp things up because it's March Madness, bro. So if you haven't played Prize Picks and you want to make some money with us, all you have to do is go to Prize Picks, download the app, and use my promo code Mikerophone, and they'll give you an additional $100 when you deposit $100. I post pics each and every day onto my Instagram story. I've been doing a lot of research on this recently to try to get us an edge. I've been learning a lot about this niche, by the way, and it's been a lot of fun learning about it, and I highly recommend it. It's a great way to get some action in some games that you may not have been paying attention to. So download Prize Picks and use my promo code Mikerophone to get up to a $100 deposit match, and thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Excuse me if my voice sounds a little weird. I gotta admit, I've been a huge fan of the Dallas Cowboys offseason so far. As a Cowboy fan, I have a tremendous amount of appreciation for some of the very difficult decisions we've made and some of the more intelligent decisions we made. For example, if you recall the very beginning of the offseason, we had Stephen Jones coming out here and telling us that Dak Prescott might possibly get extended, primarily for salary cap reasons. The Cowboys didn't end up doing that. They ended up restructuring Dak Prescott's deal. Now, could this mean that Dak Prescott is going to be reevaluated for the future within the next year or so? Quite possibly, but we already saw the Cowboys make some very, very difficult decisions, and as a reward, they were able to keep some of their other players that were very valuable to the team, but may not have had that household name that we are used to over the past 6 to 7 years. Now, what am I talking about? Well, the Dallas Cowboys let go of a player that was a franchise cornerstone for them for the past 7 years. Now, was he the same player over the past couple years? Most definitely not, but without a doubt, this human being was the face of the Dallas Cowboys from 2016 and on, and was probably the heart and soul of the team. And if you also remember, the Cowboys front office gave him a ridiculous extension primarily for that reason. They considered him to be the heart and soul of the team. I'm talking about Ezekiel Elliott. So when the Cowboys released Ezekiel Elliott, I wasn't necessarily shocked, but typical Jerry Jones fashion would indicate that he would do anything it would take to keep Zeke on the team, even if it means a reduced contract. That didn't even happen. He was just let go completely. Now, it's really funny because I saw this one post on Twitter about Emmitt Smith saying that the Cowboys did Ezekiel Elliott dirty. This was on an Instagram post where the Cowboys posted this picture of Ezekiel Elliott on draft day commemorating his time with the team. And then you had Emmitt Smith saying this: "Wow, this is amazing to me. No disrespect to Malik Davis, but our starting running back is gone, and his backup has a broken leg. The NFL stands for not for long. Everyone else go get your money because they have no love for you. It don't make sense, and this is one of those things that make you shake your head. Thank you, Z, for giving everything you have, including playing injured all of last year. This is why the NFL stands for not for the law. Everybody else go get your money because they have no love for you." Look, man, on one hand, again, Dallas Cowboy fan here through and through, huge fan of Ezekiel Elliott. I think even if he played without being injured, and if he had, like, say, an 1,100-yard yard rushing season, I still think the Cowboys would have moved on from him just from his cap hit alone. I mean, we've shown you this chart so many times at this point that we're not going to go through each and every player like we usually do, but this is the Super Bowl winning leading rusher and their base salary since 2009. If you notice on this chart, there isn't a single player that has a higher base salary than $2.5 million, and that's Percy Harvin in 2013, and we know that he wasn't the starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks that year. He was just the leading rusher in the Super Bowl that the Seahawks won. On average, you could see that each and every one of these players makes anywhere from $585,000 in 2015, CJ Anderson, all the way to $2 million. Ezekiel Elliott was making $15 million a year annually, and this is why I have some reservations as to what Emmitt Smith is saying here, because you can't say that the Cowboys didn't have love for Ezekiel Elliott, because Ezekiel Elliott is the second highest paid running back of all time. It goes Adrian Peterson at $100 million, and now Ezekiel Elliott at $70.9 million. Look, maybe he continues his career for sure, but I don't necessarily think the Cowboys did him dirty or anything of that sort. And this move allowed a lot of other moves as well. For example, Cowboys were able to sign Donovan Wilson to a 3-year, $24 million contract. They were able to make a pretty significant trade for Stephon Gilmore, giving up a 5th-round pick for the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year, who performed remarkably this past year, who should be a fantastic foil to Trevon Diggs and Dan Quinn's defense. When you also add in Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, the fact that the Cowboys were able to bring back Leighton Vander Esch as well, and I'd say that they made the right decision here. But there was also one question. The Cowboys have been pursuing Odell Beckham Jr. and have been linked to DeAndre Hopkins repeatedly this offseason. So there was this huge question about what they were going to do in order to get themselves additional help on offense, in order to get Dak Prescott that additional weapon. Who's going to complement CeeDee Lamb on the offense? Was it going to be OBJ? Was it going to be D-Hop? Was it going to be a wide receiver that the Cowboys drafted? Seems like we have the answer to that question, and to be honest, I'm pretty satisfied with the answer to this question. So in our Kansas City Chiefs video that we dropped on Saturday, we discussed the fact that they were linked to Laramie Tunsil. Apparently, they were potentially trying to swing a trade for Laramie Tunsil in order to fill the void at left tackle that would be left behind by Orlando Brown Jr. It seems like the Houston Texans had significantly different plans. You see, the Texans were in a very similar situation that the Cowboys were in last offseason. They have a remarkable wide receiver, a criminally underrated wide receiver, might I add, that they need to move on from in order to maintain the rest of their roster. And as a result, they might be willing to give this wide receiver up for pennies on the dollar, very much like what the Cowboys did last year when they traded Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns, a move that Dallas Cowboys fans universally loathed, but they didn't necessarily have a choice because the Cowboys had to pay Ezekiel Elliott's contract. So check this out. The Houston Texans announced today that they're making a series of moves. The first deal we heard of was the fact that Laramie Tunsil and the Houston Texans have agreed to a 3-year, $75 million deal with $50 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid tackle in league history. You know, it's very interesting. You're seeing a lot of this. I mean, you're seeing left tackles sign shorter and shorter contracts so they could potentially opt out earlier, get the bag again, reset the market again. It's what Orlando Brown Jr. did with the Cincinnati Bengals, which I think is a little bold considering the fact that, don't get me wrong, Orlando Brown's a great left tackle. I don't think he's one of the most elite left tackles that we've ever seen, but he's a really good left tackle. I think Laramie Tunsil is a different level though whenever it comes to playing that position as well. It definitely means they're going to bet on themselves for the chance to make more money. I'm all for it. I mean, I'm all for these players getting the bag. They put their bodies on the line to entertain us. So congratulations to Laramie Tunsil, and I think it's a great decision for the Texans considering the fact that there's a chance that they might go after Bryce Young in the NFL draft. You want to make sure that that young man's blind spot gets protected if you do pursue him. But what about the Cowboys? Well, the Cowboys decided to make a huge trade for a player that they've been linked to since the trade deadline last year. If you remember, during the trade deadline, yes, there were talks about the Cowboys trying to pursue Odell Beckham Jr., but at a specific point, they were also linked to Brandon Cooks. Unfortunately, they couldn't get a deal done with Brandon Cooks on time. But this offseason seems to be significantly different because according to Ian Rappaport, the Dallas Cowboys have officially agreed to a trade with the Houston Texans for Brandon Cooks. So the Cowboys are trading trading a 5th round pick this year and a 6th next year, and are receiving Brandon Cooks in return. Which, first of all, I think this is a remarkable trade for the Dallas Cowboys. I know it's easy to look at the Houston Texans and say, oh my god, they're giving up Brandon Cooks for a 5th round pick and a 6th round pick. You have to understand, Brandon Cooks is 29 years old at this point. He also has a huge contract. It's very similar to the situation that the Cowboys were in with Amari Cooper last year. And I think it's a remarkable trade. I mean, Brandon Cooks has had so many 1,000 plus yard receiving seasons with so many different teams and so many different quarterbacks, 6 under his belt officially in his 9-year career, which is astounding. I think this is a remarkable foil for CeeDee Lamb. You get CeeDee Lamb's route running on one side and his speed, and then on the other side you get Brandon Cooks' speed and his big playability. I think Brandon Cooks is criminally underrated, and it's kind of crazy that he's one of the most traded NFL players in NFL history, going all the way back to his time with the Saints and then getting traded to the New England Patriots for a 1st round pick in 2017 and 3rd round picks. Then 1 season later, after making it to the Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, he was traded again to the Los Angeles Rams for a 1st round pick and a 6th round pick. Then he would get traded to the Texans for a 2nd round pick, but this time he was traded along with a 4th round pick. And now he's getting traded to the Cowboys for a 5th round pick and a 6th round pick. I think it's a remarkable trade. I think it's fantastic value for the Dallas Cowboys for sure. If I have to give the Cowboys a grade for this particular deal, it's an A+. I'm very happy that they didn't pursue the big name in Odell Beckham Jr. because that's what the old Jerry Jones would have done. I don't necessarily know if he took the back seat in this deal, but I think from a football standpoint, in an offense, Brandon Cooks alongside with CeeDee Lamb is a fantastic combination, and we should see a huge jump from Dak Prescott this season as a result of it. It looks like the Cowboys are really going all in this offseason. Trading for Stephon Gilmore, yes, I know he's no longer in his prime, was a fantastic move. Trading for Brandon Cooks, another remarkable move, a very nice low risk, high reward type of move to make. They've made some very difficult decisions on players like Ezekiel Elliott. They were able to bring back some key pieces as well in Leighton Vander Esch and Donovan Wilson. So all in all, I'm very, very happy with this move. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this move. And aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.